Nice.
Here we go.
We're in.
So, you don't need any introductions. Everyone knows Tom.
Everyone knows Paul.
And
for the wrong reasons.
We've been away for about a month now, not done any of these podcasts. Holidays, Dean's been away, I've been away.
Life, you could call it series
and
one. And
it's been difficult for me to get the courage to do this without him, to be honest, because we started it together.
Yeah.
He's always been the sort of leader, anchor man, whatever you want to call him.
You two work good together.
Yeah, no, he'll be back, but, you know, sort of thought I'd give it a go myself.
Yeah.
Even dyed my hair so I could be like you. Even done a tribute hairstyle.
We're matching, mate.
The main idea, really, the reason I asked you on is because you've done something completely different that's run alongside the taxi trade that, you know, is unique. And I wanted to know the story, really. So I've done something outside the trade as well, but a lot of people have passed the knowledge, become a taxi driver, and then gone on and built a fleet, you know, because it's sort of a natural progression for some people to get into the business side. But no one has become a YouTube star. No one.
Yeah, not even me.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, as far as most people are concerned, you have been.
Cheers,
and,
man.
you know,
Yeah.
This is why I wanted to know a bit more, really. Like, how on earth did you become and sort of sat down one day and thought, do you know what? I'm a cab driver, but I want to do a bit more than that. And where did it all start?
I think it's all related to your own individual like things before you become a cabbie.
Yeah.
You know, everyone has their own like unique flavors, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I've always been making movies since I was like, I don't know, since I first ever got hold of a camera. Like,
Oh, right.
Yeah, like back in the sort of days when you used to watch like Jackass on MTV.
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff. Me and my mates would
Love
be like
that.
jumping out of trees and stuff and like filming stuff like that. So it just goes over time, and then some people see my biking videos and stuff.
That is what I first saw, actually. Before, I think that was before you've done the YouTube stuff.
Yeah. I've been doing it for years, like 15 years or so.
Have you ever caught your nuts, though? You must
Not
have
that
done.
often. Yeah, odd time. You just lay on the floor, wait for it to pass.
Yeah. For a while. Yeah. Because I've had a few bike accidents. But yeah, seeing you jumping off walls in the city, crazy.
Yeah, it's all static moves. It's not like downhillers where they
You
go down, but they don't go. I've not got much momentum behind me.
No, exactly.
So if I fall off, I just drop the bike and just walk away, sort of thing. But yeah, no. So began with those, and that was where I sort of started learning video editing.
Right.
Get, like hooky copies of like video editing software.
Right.
You download it, and then you just make these videos together. And then I'm like, leave school, and you're like, what do I do now? I'm like, I'm gonna go to college. You know, like, what do I know how to do? I'm gonna make videos.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna go do that, and then went down that path, and then same with university, and you just gradually learn more and more of it, and that's just more and more of what I did, really. So
Yeah.
I could always sort of make an all right video.
So when did you pass out from the knowledge?
I passed out in December 2017.
Right. And so you were solidly driving the cab, and was this going around, as you were driving around, meeting people and stuff like that, were you thinking, oh, do you know what, I could do this video and that video? And what was your first inspiration? What made you think, I'm going to actually sit at home and think of some stuff and do some videos? What was your first trigger?
I think it was always there.
Yeah.
I always knew that I could do something.
Yeah.
And also, when you're on the knowledge, you think, well, I could do anything.
Yeah.
If I can do this, I can. I
spin.
can learn a language. I can go do this, whatever.
Yeah.
So I knew there was going to be something there, and but I never quite had that push. I still have this problem to this day. It's kind of an inertia problem,
Right.
as in something's not, bad enough to get you to go and do something. People say like, I'm going to leave my job and I'm going to start X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
And they never do it. And I'm kind of a bit like one of those.
Yeah.
Stuff
same.
has to get really bad for me to kind of do that.
Yeah.
And of course, what happened? It was really bad. Well, it was the pandemic.
Right.
Because the amount of times some of the drivers who were out before the pandemic probably remember this. When you rank at King's Cross down by Evans Cycles,
Yeah.
that's part of Google headquarters. There used to be called the YouTube space.
Of course.
And on the wall there was a big TV screen with all these different YouTube creators. And I remember ranking up there and going past that, and I'm like, oh, I'd love to do something like that.
Yeah.
Well, whether it's taxi trade, whether it's related, I don't know. But I was like, I'd love to. And you always put it off, and you're like, one day.
Right.
One day. And
So you started in lockdown, basically?
yeah, basically just lockdown. I was like,
I thought it was before that. What made me think it was before that?
I had other stuff before that, but nothing taxi specific.
Right.
I had the odd ones, actually. I tell you what, tell the truth. Yeah, I had when I was still living at home with my parents back in Braintree, I made the odd few, like, what's it like being a cab driver? How do you do it? And it was kind of a half-assed
That's
effort.
what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, I tried.
But then lockdown, you thought, right, this is my time.
Yeah, I sort of structured. I thought, what's the easiest way of doing it? Because this is back when lockdown was so scary.
Yeah, it was.
Stay at home. You're not allowed to go out. You're going to die if you go out. I'm like, so I was in Highgate at the time, and I just sat in the back of the cab that I had. I can't remember if I had my electric cab at the time.
Yeah.
Sat in the back of the cab, and I'm like, I'm just going to sit there and just riff on a topic. It doesn't matter that I've not been out that long. I know about this.
Yeah.
And that's what I sort of encourage anyone who knows anything about anything, is just to
share it.
Exactly that. So just done it. It's because it's your own unique individual perspective of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've done a few bits and pieces, and I always worry about what people are going to say. Like when you're on social media quite a lot, there's some quite nasty people that get hold of stuff, and they'll find something completely unrelated, and they'll say something, and it will be like, oh, I didn't realise I was, I had a big nose. Did you only just notice that? Do you know what I mean? And it's like, that's what sort of worries me. But you didn't have that worry, no? You didn't think, oh, they're going to say this, or they're going to be negative about that. Did that kind of cross your mind?
My biggest, I did, to be honest. Like when you put something out there, I'm like, God, what are, the older cabbie's going to think of, like,
that is the thing, isn't it?
This young, fresh face. But you could see why. Here's a guy who's only been, and I would be as well if I'd been out in a trade for 20 odd years, and someone who's only got his badge a couple of years ago then says, oh, I'm doing X, Y, Z. I know big bollocks, I know what I'm doing. You would, but surprisingly, I didn't really get much of that. There's gonna be talk behind your back. It doesn't matter what you do in life. There's gonna be someone who doesn't agree with what you do. And
there you was on Monday night, standing up in front of the worshipful company of Hackney carriage drivers, doing a massive speech in sort of old English language. That's where you've gone. You've gone from there to there. Yeah. Because you've got so much respect. Fantastic.
So the people don't know what Paul's talking about there. Basically, it's it's another thing that. Again, this trade, I think, is just full of so many opportunities, and that's kind of one of the things I've done since getting out. It's just kind of just seeing what different opportunities there are, and just going with it. And you get some drivers have a problem with it who think that anyone who either makes money from not driving a taxi but related to a taxi,
how dare they?
It's so bad. You're not
Yeah.
allowed to. Yeah. What? The rental garages are putting their price up after lockdown. Oh my God.
Yeah, no.
That's so bad. You are a heartless, soulless person.
I
am.
I'm just, it's all about me.
We'll come into that a bit. I want to know a bit more about it, because this is an episode about...
Yeah, it's about us, how we've worked through lockdown as well, and things like that. I mean, I actually didn't know that you started it through lockdown. I thought it was before that, which you kind of did. You had the idea before then, but it was about timing. I always think every business opportunity or any life opportunity, it's always timing. Yeah, it's getting your timing right, and that is the big thing. You know what I mean? So,
timing's probably secondary. Getting started is probably number one, I guess.
Yeah. Like, did you have any inspiration, like a person that you thought, or someone that pushed you?
Not really.
Support-wise?
Once I started getting started with it, I read a lot of business books over lockdown.
Oh, did you?
That was just love all that sort of self-improvement.
Yeah.
It's just, I can't deal with it.
You got a life coach?
Can it be you?
Maybe. We'll see.
If anyone's listening. No, I mean, there's so much. I always like to just try and learn as much as you can from everyone, every avenue, whatever. You never know what's going to come up. And some stuff's not right now, but in 10 years' time, you'd be like, oh, I learned that thing 5 years ago, and I can reuse that. I looked on YouTube, right, and there's this guy in the UK. He's got a massive YouTube channel now. It's about 3 million, but in lockdown, it's probably only just coming up to about 1 million or whatever. So it's really expanded in the past few years. Junior doctor.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So he went to Cambridge University, done medical degree and stuff like that. He's younger than me. Became a junior doctor, and then basically broke down what he earns on YouTube, what he earns doing like as a junior doctor. And it was like, he was a mug for going to go work as a doctor, basically.
Yeah, for the money.
What he earned. And not to say that, it's easy on YouTube, or like, he doesn't deserve the money or whatever. Yeah. It was just really illuminating. I'm like, well, here he is. He's having arguably a better reach than just being a doctor because he's online. He's talking to all these different people. Yeah. And it kind of made me think about the idea of like, well, where the YouTube channel is almost going now is that where it's kind of built up a bit of momentum and there's a lot built behind it, it's now not just like, oh, hi, I'm Tom the taxi driver sharing you what's going on in the taxi trade. It's like, this is actually a really powerful voice for the trade. anything that comes up that we need to get out there, that we want people to get on our side with, be it road closures, be it things that happen in the trade, it could potentially be that. It's just because how many people it then reaches.
Yeah. I mean, I've looked at some of your numbers and they're staggering.
Yeah.
Like, in a day, you'll get 10,000 views.
I have no idea, like,
who are these people?
You go on it, and honestly, it's really unsettling thinking that someone's watching me at, like, all hours. I'm like...
This is it, like, because I think it's obviously partly to do with your age, but also it's to do with your vibe as well. And you're doing a job what everybody thinks old people do. Yeah. And just old men do, which is no longer the case. I've always said that. I've always said that we should get a wide range of people, even people from school. Yeah. Why they can't study the knowledge? Do you know what I mean? And yeah, I think that's really helped us actually.
Yeah, no, that's kind of what I wanted to do as well, because as I've said about my background before, I've been to university, done a degree, and now this is kind of like my backward step. And I remember being called in like my very first appearance, and Mom Shenel says, she probably says it to every knowledge student who goes in the knowledge, like, oh, why do you want to do the knowledge or whatever? And I'm like, well...
Was it her that done your first appearance?
My very first appearance,
yeah.
Somehow I managed to score. But
Yeah. Well, there you go.
But, and it was like, well, it was just more for the freedom, so this could be a good stepping stone.
Yeah. Because,
like today, like, I could be at work today, although I've come here to sit down and talk with you.
Yeah.
I was thinking, what a great opportunity that I can do this, really. Yeah. So that's also the connection with YouTube, is it's then like, look, this is just my story. This is what's happened with me. Someone else might then see that and go, you know what? This knowledge idea doesn't sound like a bad idea. Yeah. And I get a lot of emails from people saying like, oh, I'm thinking about doing it, or I'm at this age or whatever. And I don't push or recommend people. I will show them, be like, look, go see Wizan or whatever. Yeah. This is the best resources to get started. But, even yesterday I was just filming a little bit of Paddington, and one of the marshals there who was loading up, I was basically just doing a bit about taxi ranks, like how the Paddington rank works. Because it looks really confusing if you don't know how it works.
I need to watch that.
Some people...
Paddington scares me.
Really?
Yeah. I've never liked going there. It's just, there's always some problem. There's always someone saying...
It's not as bad as Euston.
If you... All right, I'll go in and I'll take the number plate down. I'll make sure I follow. But then when I get to the front and there's someone else at the front with me, I'm like, looking at him, he's looking at me. Like, who's going to move first? It's like, when you draw, when you draw in the Western, it's like, who's going first and who's going to fill up that line? And then some guys behind me bid me the other day, like, you're not moving quick enough. And I'm like, yeah, but the guy in front of me is not moving. So am I, like, I'll just sort of stay away from that one.
You was out in a cab working?
You saw me.
Yeah.
I've got you shocked. And then I was shocked because I thought, what are you doing working? And you're saying to me, what are you doing working? Like, well,
I had to, like,
drivers, mate.
Like proper disbelief there. I was like, God, I've either been working too.
And it was really funny. I was so glad to see your face at the time, because I had a family in the back I was dropping off, and they were arguing.
Right.
And the dad was getting really aggressive with the older daughter. And I thought they were going to start fighting in the back of the cab. And I was so glad to see someone I could sort of like look at and go, I might need some help here. That was a funny moment, actually. When was it? Day before yesterday?
Yesterday?
Yeah.
Just yesterday,
yeah. Yeah. I often get accused of never going out in the cab. So you're my proof.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a great job. Why shouldn't I go out in the cab? We both earned our licenses. And I think we both done something on the side of the trade. So you don't have to go out every day, and it should be an inspiration for anybody else to do something like that.
At the end of the day,
why not?
If like,
it's a great part-time job as well as a full-time job.
If like you're being paid, but generally, like, the way I look at it is, if you're being paid to do something, you generally add value to someone in life, and the people who get paid the most add the most value.
Oh yeah. So, I mean, I've been accused of being greedy because I do both, and I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute. Ain't I investing in the trade? Yeah. Ain't I making my business viable so that you can go to work as well as I can go to work? Yeah. It's a two-way street.
More cabs, more fleets out there, the more...
And this is the thing I've always said, like, I helped a guy over lockdown who was building a fleet, and I wanted to get him on here because I wanted him to share his story as well. But and I'll help anyone, because I think that we need more fleet owners, right? Because we're short of cabs. So... And there's a good opportunity there for anybody to come and do what I do, as well as there is to do what you do. Yeah,
100%. Yeah, it's all different. Yeah,
I think gone are the days where it was a closed shop, because when I first come into the fleet world, I didn't get much welcoming, because especially when I started buying the electric cabs, because at the time people were like, "This ain't going to work." You know, we've had diesels for generations.
I remember that. That was quite a weird. I remember you said like, "Oh, you're going to be like the first like solely electric fleet," and that was like, that sounded like outrageous at the time.
Yeah.
Like pre-pandemic, I was like not. I wasn't like really, but it just didn't sound right at the time.
I just couldn't work out why a company as big as Geely, Volvo, Hutley VC would put so much money into something if they didn't expect it to work.
Yeah.
So why would me buying an electric taxi and renting it out not be viable for the trade?
You've already got their kind of seal of approval, and theirs is going to be far bigger than yours needs to be.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the way I looked at it. And I mean, taxis are going to be, you know, something that people need forever and a day.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a viable.
I think what you said there about, you know, not being accepted in the fleet or like other fleet owners when you first started out, and then now it is kind of a lot more like the process you have of like accepting people into it.
Yeah.
I think that's generally how like the world is going a lot more now. It always used to be, I think, you'd have, you know, maybe someone on top who'd be like, right, well, all these other people are trying to compete with me. I'm not going to get on with them or whatever. And that's kind of like the old school way of thinking.
Yeah.
Whereas nowadays, you see it with everyone. Like if you go on YouTube and look at any creators or even the big celebrities, right, who maybe aren't on YouTube, on TV or whatever, they're all collaborating with one another.
Yeah.
They're not going, oh, he's stealing money off my table. They're
That's
like,
right.
We're all, the rising tide will raise all ships.
Yeah, I mean, if someone rings me up and says, I'll need a cab on Friday, which happened a couple of weeks ago, I can't help you. But I knew for a fact that there was a fleet out there that had cabs advertised that day. And I just said to him, look, there's these people have got cabs.
Yeah.
I want that driver who's just passed out to have a cab.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, you know, and he'd come through this school. So it was like, I'm gutted that I can't give you a cab, but I do not want you to be without a cab. So
I remember that. It all comes back round. I mean, when I first got out, you was the first person I contacted.
I remember.
Years ago. I wanted a TX4, and you was quite honest and said, well, look, you've got, because I was commuting in for quite a bit of a way. My commute was probably... Right.
You was coming in from...
I was probably doing about, Suffolk.
Braintree
sort of way.
Oh, Braintree, that's right. Yeah.
So you're talking over 150 miles a day.
Yes.
And you were saying, look, TX4 might not be the best sort of choice, really.
Yes. I think I'm probably
you had a Vito. You had a Vito at the time as well.
Yeah.
You said, look, I can put you
better
in
on the motorway.
But you even said, look, I get it, Tom. You've just got out. You've just got your badge.
You want to be in a traditional taxi.
Yeah.
The funny thing was, when I first got my badge, I wanted to be in a traditional taxi, but when I started driving one, I didn't, because I've always had nice cars.
Right.
Because I worked for companies. I had company cars. I was in the sales industry.
Yeah.
Property management and stuff. I don't know what car I had at the time, but I went to test drive a TX4, and it felt like 1984 Granada.
Proper going back in time. Like all
horrible.
Buttons
and then you didn't do the drive, did you? Driving test.
It's still on my on the license.
Yeah,
when you get out, like anyone doesn't know that, because obviously you have to do the driving test, taxi driving test. On my bill, it says conditions of fitness must something like must subject to doing driving test, which basically means TfL can pull me in at any point and be like,
"Yep,
Tom, I know you've been driving a cab for like nearly 5 years. Do you want to do this driving test? Because madness."
I'll diverse in a minute about that, because I had a phone call from TfL today. It was quite interesting, but I then booked my test when I got my rec for my drive, and it was in a Merc, and in a Merc Vito, and it was nice to drive. You know, even though it's a van-derived vehicle, it was nice to drive.
Yeah.
So my first cab was a Vito. So then when I started building the fleet, I started with Vitos. Then I realised the rear wheel steer was a massive issue.
Yeah.
And it went from there really, and started buying more TX4s. But then the electric cab came along, and it ticked a lot more boxes. Yep. But yeah, the phone call I got from TfL today, it was like they'd done a fleet check on me, a random fleet check, which is great. I'm glad they do stuff like that. Right? Yeah. And he was saying to me, what you should do.
Consist of? Because surely, like, if you're going to Oval regularly enough, surely that kind of satisfies it, or other stuff.
They've got a department where they check fleets. So they pick a random amount of vehicles, and then they'll go around in vehicles with the driver, make sure that the driver knows how to operate the wheelchair.
Oh, right.
And the driver knows certain things. So it was good. We did 10 vehicles, random vehicles. It went really well. But he was saying to me, we want to tell you about some best practice when you're hiring, and we need you to test everyone's eyesight before they take one of your cabs. I was like, what? Really? He was like, yeah. So how do you think they would want me to do that? I'm asking you, what do you think?
Yeah.
How am I do? I was like, well, what do you want me to do?
We get a board up in here, and you just become like an overnight optometrist. There's probably a course.
Or they could have my surname up and use it as an eye test. I don't know.
You nick a job off them if they can recognise it's you.
No, what it is, remember when you've done your normal driving test, what was the first thing you do when you walk out
they go out
the
the car park and can you see
20
the number
metres.
plate?
He said, so what I'd like you to do, if you don't mind, is I think it's actually quite a good idea.
I guess so, because I don't know how much liability then falls on you for having like a bad driver who shouldn't be driving something. Because obviously you're going to go through things like if someone's got points in their licence, you're not going to have them driving or how many points they're allowed.
Yeah.
You're not going to have them driving your cabs. It's standard procedure.
And we've got to check their licences.
So I suppose it is
every 3 months.
It is just another sort of safeguarding measure that goes into
so
place.
20 metres, read that number plate from 20 metres.
Okay.
That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyone who hires a cab from me from now on is going to get an eye test.
Not in a darkened room like normally then.
No, not exactly.
Whispering in your ear like,
I just thought it was a bit random. Didn't expect to hear that.
Yeah, you sort of think, is it a bit over the top? But then sort of it isn't at the same time, yeah.
Yeah, if you can't read the number plate from 20 metres, should you be driving a normal car?
Yeah.
Let alone a public hired vehicle?
Yeah.
You know, because we've got a very responsible job.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know who you're going to pick up when, and it could be someone very important or anybody is important. Do you know what I mean? So,